Welcome to Campaign 2025 in Mansfield. I'm Steve Cosio, and today we are talking City Council, specifically Place 2, the City Council race. She's running for re-election. She's here in the studio. Tamera Bounds, welcome back to About Mansfield.
Well, hello. I'm glad to be here.
Should we just get right into it?
Yes, let's go.
Okay. For those who don't know you, why don't you tell people who Tamera Bounds is and follow it up with why are you running for re-election?
So, Tamera Bounds, I'm a Mansfield resident, of course, and have been a Mansfield resident for probably about 45 years. Raised all of my kids here. They went through all the schools back in the day when we just had the one high school, and we were just a little hole in the wall. And I have grandkids now and finally got my son and daughter-in-law to move back here and bring some of my grandkids back here so that they'll go to school here as well. I have been involved in schools for a long time. I was a PTA member, cafeteria monitor. I became an HOA president.
Oh, those are fun.
Oh, it was a real hoot.
Yeah.
I first got to know the city when I needed them to fix Nelson Wyatt, and they told me they couldn't fix Nelson Wyatt. So I went before the council and told them they needed to fix Nelson Wyatt, and they were going to fix it. And so I did my research on it and showed them the potholes and made them come watch a bus negotiate with a car. Oh. And I told them that they had all been educated now. So come fix my road. And they fixed my road.
All right.
And then I was asked to get on code enforcement after that. And then I was appointed as a planning and zoning commissioner. So I was that for a while and learned a lot of things about the city and land use and property. And so been involved with the city, for probably since 2012. So just out and about with all of that. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that I have been married to my husband for 44 years.
Oh.
So.
Okay. And you've been on the council for?
Well, since 2021, January 2021, because of COVID, they moved all of our elections to November.
Oh, I remember that.
So we were sworn in January, the first council meeting, January of 2021. So just about about 4 years, a little over 4 years.
Okay.
Hit the ground running.
Yeah. Fire hose inserted deeply into.
Yeah.
And then the second part of that question was, why are you running for re-election?
So we have a lot of irons in the fire, a lot.
We're going to talk about all those irons.
Oh, but there's just a lot going. And like I had told you earlier when we were talking about certain things need to happen first for that domino to fall. And then once that domino falls, then the rest of the properties and everything will fall in place. The rest of the projects, the rest of the projects that we had put out there to happen will happen. The funding, all of those. We've been looking at trying to get to the cap for the homestead exemption, which is 20%. We're at 16 now. So we're working on trying to get to that, which will be up in that again this next budget season. We're going to try to continue to keep lowering the tax rate as well. We're down to a 35-year all-time low.
Congratulations.
I know. Trying to get it down even further, making sure that the projects that we have in place are adhering to the agreements, because not all developers are created the same. And you have to be on them constantly to do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
And hold them accountable. And I've been there since day one, since the deals were made. And I'm going to hold them accountable to build what they say they're going to build. So I want to finish what I started.
Let's talk about the domino.
Okay.
In your mind, the first tile has to finish before it knocks over the second tile, the third tile, and we all know about the domino effect. in your mind, what are the projects that you have? What's the first project, and then the project after that?
Well, so I guess you would just need to be a little bit more specific because we got so many projects.
Yeah.
But we could say, like downtown, for example, we needed to be able to get the fire station moved. But in order to get the fire station moved, you have to find property for the fire station. We needed to be able to clear some land to build the watermill district. In order to build the watermill district, you've got to move the Texas tires.
And the fire station.
And the fire station. And the lot. But the lot we're ready to go on that.
Right.
And so I just cut the ribbon for Texas Tire the other day, so that was great. So they're ready to move. And so once we get them all out, then you're able to demo that building and then demo the next building. And then you're able to start to look at where you need to lay your utility lines and where, the property needs to come up to. So that's that little domino in that area. And once we can get that going and get that built, then you start bringing in people that will start living downtown. Now, we are looking at demoing the old MEDC building because we've got townhomes coming out there. And so they've had to go in and check all of it for asbestos and all the good stuff, to make sure that they can, environmentally get rid of it and clean it out so that we can get the townhomes down there. And so we're busy doing that. Once that happens, that's another domino that will fall because that'll give housing down there also that people can purchase and live in. We haven't forgot about Smith Street. We are still working on that. And then on top of all of that is the work that we're trying to do in the 100 block and trying to make all of that come together at a certain point so that you almost do one thing first and then you roll into the other. So we're really looking at what we can do with the 100 block. And then at about the same time that the watermill district is coming in so that you're working together with all that. You just don't have to stop everybody's life in phases. So looking at that. And then meanwhile, when those dominoes fall, it also means with the residents living, living downtown, but the tenants that are downtown, what that would mean to them as far as during that time that we're working on the roads and all of that, what we do for them. So the next piece of that domino would be like Geyer Field. So we have Geyer Field coming.
Geyer Commons, right?
Yes. And with Geyer Commons coming, there's talk that you might be able to place some of the tenants in some of the market spaces there at Geyer Commons and be able to work there as well.
Yeah.
So that's just downtown in that one little area that we have, that if we can get those to go. Now, we already have dominoes that are falling for the stadium. So we already
The stadium.
The stadium.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Yes.
That seems to be a hotbed of conversation in the community. Some people love it. Some people hate the idea. Your thoughts on the stadium?
I think most people love the idea,
Yeah.
but there is definitely people who don't like the idea. But I think a lot of the people who don't like the idea are afraid of it might not be successful, or afraid of the cost, or can't see the bigger vision of some things. And then some of them are worried that it's going to change their Mansfield. It won't be like the old Mansfield would be. But when you sit here and think about Mansfield, like we talked about my son moving back, my grandkids moving back, you have to look at the sustainability of Mansfield. And what does that mean? That means as we grow, being able to pay your bills for the city. So more, if you need more police, more fire, you need to expand your fire departments or add on to our new police department. Hopefully we won't ever have to do that. But you have to be forward thinking with that. And you need to think about what is going to continuously provide us with the financial ability to continue to pay for some of those. So sales tax is one, that will continue to be able to generate funds because people can come and they can shop. They'll go to games. They'll buy things there. So sales tax is very important.
And with the entertainment district around it, the high five and
That's all
those
of
who
that.
go bowling and laser tag and axe throwing, it all generates sales tax.
And it does. But then on top of all of that, because you've added the high five and you've added all of the other entertainment pieces, because that's our entertainment district, the property value in that area now has grown. I remember when they thought the best use for it was warehouses.
Yeah. I do remember that and they talked about the traffic that the semis were going to.
Yes, but they thought that would be the best and highest use for that. Well, let's think about that. Sure. I mean, we need manufacturing. We need all those things. But let's think about what the overall value that those warehouses were going to bring in perpetuity to keep us sustainable. Not a whole lot.
Yeah.
So you need to think about when we put in these things, how's it going to generate stuff here for us? So property value here for us, but people to come here and shop here that want to go watch the soccer games, that want to go to a rodeo that could be held in it. Because it's just not a stadium for soccer. It's a multi-purpose event place. And, creating it to be that so that you can have more events all year round. And then partnering with people, with organizations that run their business pretty good or they wouldn't still be around, that have taken an interest.
How do you respond to residents who say, I think the stadium should have been put on a ballot for the residents to vote?
Well, there's a couple of things I have to say about that. Number one was it was put on a ballot. It was put on for the type A and B sales tax. There were propositions for it. There was education for it. I mean, I participated in some of the education for it. It was advertised. It was spoke at public hearings because you have to have public hearings by law. Mm-hmm. You have to have a public hearing. And in the public hearing, you have to disclose some of the information in there of what you're intending to build there or, some of the uses. And the multi-purpose stadium was mentioned in all of that. Now, here's what I have to say about that. If you didn't know what you were voting for, that is absolutely not the fault of the city that you said, I didn't know we were doing this for a stadium. That is your fault for not being aware of what's going on when the propositions were there and all the education to ask those questions. And some people say, well, for example, it could be a play on words that people didn't get to vote or vote for the stadium. Well, I don't know that they didn't get to vote for the stadium. They may have voted no.
Yeah.
But the stadium won by a vote that agreed that the majority, as far as I know, we're still a democracy, that the majority wanted to see it pass and allowed us to use the dollars for that. And so when you say, or when people say it wasn't brought before us for a vote, another piece of that would be we didn't bring it to tell you we were fixing to raise your property taxes, because if we were fixing to raise your property taxes, then we would need to be bringing it for a vote to the people for that. But we did bring it for a vote to be able to use those sales tax dollars. And you had the right to vote yes or no.
Yeah, so those who want to go back to and you can look this up on the About Mansfield podcast website, aboutmansfield.com, click on local campaigns, go to 2023, and you can read Proposition A and Proposition B that relate to things like amphitheaters, auditoriums, events, public park purposes, and multi-use infrastructure and And that's where the stadium came in. Multi-use event facility, a multi-sport venue.
Yes. And they can go to my website and see it too. I put it all on my website.
There you go.
So, and I believe that they can still get on the city website and go back and look at what all that was as well.
Reflecting on your current term, what are you most proud of accomplishing for Mansfield, and has it or how has it positively impacted the community?
Oh, there was so much.
You only get to pick one.
I'm going to go to taxes because I heard that constantly. I'm on a fixed income. I need help. The taxes are too high. You're pricing, we're pricing everybody out. We need focus on traffic. On taxes. Now, that's a fine line with traffic and infrastructure too.
Oh, we're getting into traffic too.
Okay, but that's a fine line between those two because that has been a hot topic, and I'm most proud of some things that we did for that. But being able to lower the taxes, the rate, as well as keep providing a homestead exemption and pay our bills,
right,
and not have to the next year raise a dime of it back up and still being able to pay our bills. So that was very important to be able to give the people those things that they can rely on. Next, just as important was infrastructure because I myself needed to understand infrastructure a little bit more because you hear people say, you're not doing what you need to do with the infrastructure. Well, tell me what we're talking about on infrastructure. Are we talking about water, sewer, electric? Because that's infrastructure. That's non-road infrastructure.
Right.
Are we talking about roads? Are we talking about road infrastructure? For the most part, I heard, oh, well, I don't give a damn about water and sewer. We got enough of that. I want my roads fixed. I want my potholes fixed. I don't want to go cha-chink, cha-chink, cha-chink when I'm driving down the roads. I want more roads, or I want better roads. And so I heard that, and we did an impact study for our master thoroughfare plan. And I am so proud of that.
Tell me about it.
Well, in it, started on it like late 2023 because we're growing, and the traffic is growing. And the traffic's just not Mansfield traffic. It's traffic with people coming in here. It's traffic with people going out. They're coming and going at the same time. And so we wanted to look at, with all of our development coming up, what that would look like for the future. Because between me and you, I don't know that a lot of that forethought was given on future traffic because in the old days, they thought of arterials and, streets would feed into the arterials and then they take you where you want to go, right? So everybody piles on Debbie Lane. Everybody piles on Broad Street. And there's not different ways to get where you need to go unless you go this certain route. So we had this study done, and they identified some critical corridors. And some of the critical corridors, I know you won't be surprised.
Tell me.
Will be Broad Street from Cannon to Holland.
Cannon to Holland. Now,
West Holland.
Okay. And Cannon actually intersects twice with Broad Street. So Cannon over by the old Ray's Pharmacy?
Yes.
Okay.
Debbie Lane from 287 to Matlock. We know that that's something there.
Oh, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon?
Yes.
Woo!
And then Heritage Parkway from Main Street to 287. So that's up and coming with all the businesses and everything that we have going on. Lone Star Road from the South Point crossing to Matlock Road, because there's a lot of homes and things coming up there. And then Jessica Lane, which is from Dick Price to Farm Road 917. So we had them identify some critical areas of where growth is and where traffic would be. And then we wanted to look at neighborhood connectors. Because remember, I said everybody goes to the one street, right? We all pile on it. So we looked at where some roads might be expanded or where we could add roads. So we're looking at 6. So we're looking at Vinewood Drive. That will be an extension to Heritage Parkway. So it'll come out of that addition right where the funeral home is.
Okay, yeah.
And then come out there, and then another one that'll come out to 287. Edgefield Trail, that will be an extension to Debbie Lane. Walnut Creek Crossing near Wilson Road. Grand Meadows Boulevard from Holland Road to 360. Holland Road north of 360. And Matlock Road, the railroad overpass south of Heritage Parkway. So those were all identified as necessary, and I know it's for your eyes only, but there is actually on the website, it'll show you where these all would be.
The city website.
Yes.
MansfieldTexas.gov.
Yes. And so, and of course, we're looking at funding and all of that for them, but we knew as we were growing that you can't keep sending the cars to the same areas. And so we needed to look at what other connectors that we could put into the neighborhoods to still get them where they needed to go. And then we also looked at neighborhood services. Where I live, we're going to have a prime piece of that coming up not too far from me at the Kinney track, where they're going to put in a little bit of community services that might have like a little mail area in it, a little coffee shop in it, something, it'll be great. I'll just walk out my gate and walk right back up there. And so looking at neighborhood services so that you don't have to get in your car and drive 5 miles to get a gallon of milk. You could maybe, walk.
Yeah. And
so some things along that line for infrastructure. We looked at stacking the lanes maybe a little bit longer and adding better turn lanes and not necessarily building more lanes, but thinking smarter about why are all the cars coming there? It's not, well, all the cars are here, so we need to build more, right? Like you were saying. It's more or less thinking smarter, well, why are all the cars here? Well, they're all here because they don't have another way to get to Kroger. Or they don't have another way to get to Market Street.
Right. And I noticed that on Matlock at Cannon Road and also at Country Club, they extended the turn lane so that the people who are turning don't actually back up into the regular progress lanes. And that was a bonus because I use the one at Cannon frequently.
Yes, and we're also looking at a couple of more like that. I've been going to these meet and greets, and there's been some more suggestions about taking a look at some more areas that may be helpful to residents as far as stackable lanes. So there's a lot for the infrastructure, and we are working on infrastructure. And I will say I have been charting on a spreadsheet on the dollars that we're spending, and I wanted to look back in time. So I took 2017 and moved forward to where we are in 2024, right? So and now we've got 2025, and I'm busily adding stuff into that. But overall, since then, we have spent about 76% more dollars just in infrastructure.
Yeah.
Now, last year, I think State of the City, I think Joe was saying 53% or something more just in the year. But over the time frame, I mean, my gosh, we fixed more potholes. My first year, I was amazed. It was like 3,000 potholes. And I'm like, why did we take so long for that?
They're still out there, though.
There is, and we'll still be fixing them.
It's part of the dominoes, though, right?
It is looking at and making sure that you've got staff that's going out and looking. They're on your radar. You're looking at your roads. You're looking at what infrastructure that you need, infrastructure for roads, water, sewer infrastructure, electrical, infrastructure. I got tired of every time it thundered, my electricity would go off.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, we got to work on some of these things. So I can confidently say that we, and I know I have been a part of the transportation committee. I've been a part of the Revitalization of Downtown Committee. I've been a part of the Housing Committee, of taking those things and looking at them and scrutinizing all of that. And what can you do better? But better doesn't necessarily mean more. It means intelligently looking at your strategies for all of that.
Let's talk about housing for just a second then. When you're out and about, so whether it's at one of your meet and greets or just out in the community, and someone says, stop the apartments, what's your response?
Well, we as a council, in my time, so since 2021, we have only on the ground being built 55 units.
55 units. Not buildings, with multiple units within those buildings. Since 2021, 55 units have been approved by the council.
They have been approved and are being built.
Okay.
So when I hear that the traffic problems are where they need to be, when I hear that we have transients, or when I hear any of that kind of stuff, and why do you keep approving apartments and all of this? What people need to understand is the reserves, and I know we've talked ad nauseum about the reserves. The reserves were approved back in 2008, and it's a master land use plan. And it just so happens to be off of what street? Broad. Yes. And I'm going to say, based on some of the things that I've looked at just in my little 4 years, when the apartments were built, I don't know that much thought was given to planning for infrastructure, like the little community connectors or anything like that. Because remember, everything's dumped off into the main streets.
Right.
So I don't think that there was much thought given into that now that we're going to build all these apartments off of Broad, because that's mainly where the reserves are, that we're going to have all these cars now onto Broad, and we haven't built any connectors anywhere to take some of that load off. These are vested right apartments. They were approved long before I ever got on the council, and they were almost 4,000 of them that were approved, but that's just not the reserves. Tract properties were approved. M3 was approved. South Point was approved.
And those are all single-family homes?
Oh, no. I'm talking about the apartments that were approved within those areas as well.
All right.
So when you start looking at those things, you have even more apartments that were pre-approved that are already vested. They're done. Unless you can just say, oh my God, it's going to set the world on fire. They're already done. And then now they're coming up for approval. And so what we've been trying to do is we've been trying to hold their feet to the fire as much as possible, or make them the best that they can be. So the 55 units were approved for the Alexander on Broad Street. Because if you know, the Shops at Broad went bankrupt. Mm-hmm. And so trying to get it back up on its feet, trying to get, some good restaurants and retails all back in there. And so the apartments kind of lagged back behind, and the issue became on that they couldn't build like we wanted them to build. They needed the 55, well, they wanted more, but we said 55 apartment units would help them be able to build the parking garages there.
Yeah.
So now we have a parking garage. I felt like that was a pretty good investment. The 55 apartments would help for that, and it would bring the foot traffic downtown, but it would also raise the rent. Now, what you don't hear about the apartments is that this council has removed almost 1,100 apartments off the books.
Wait. Do tell. How'd that happen?
So we have through some of our zoning, so I'm sure you've heard that SOMA is the devil's doing right? Because it's supposed to approve all of these apartments in there. SOMA wasn't created just to approve apartments. SOMA was created to have an orderly form of development within it. And within that, you come in and you have to have phases that you're going to build these things. Now, in the past, there was none of that. And so now the council can say you're going to build these things in this phase. So we've had some of the property owners that have come in and rezoned to SOMA and we've been able to take their by right apartments out and have put some homes in because when they rezoned it, they took it out of the reserves that's already zoned.
Okay.
So we were able, off of one development, we were able to remove I believe it was 820 apartments. Now, remember I told you about the Trike property that's going to be off of Lone Star?
Right.
All of those apartments are gone because we've been recruiting. Our economic department has been recruiting, businesses as much as possible that want to come here, good businesses that want to come here. And when they see that we're vibrant and they see that, we're moving and shaking and we've got good things coming here, they want to come here and they want to build. And it's not all about building apartments. So we're going to be able to remove close to 300 apartments off of the books off of that. But you don't hear those things because what you hear is we're approving too many apartments. And let me add, we have not approved a single standalone apartment complex. None. Any of the apartment live, work, use, or any apartments that have been approved have been in a mixed use.
Yeah.
None are standalone apartment complexes, which is what we have a lot of here. So they'll come with their infrastructure, right? Because they'll have to have the infrastructure. They'll come with their stores and their retail and their connecting and interconnecting roads. They'll come with all those. So it's a dynamic process.
Tamera Bounds, we scheduled for 20 minutes. We've gone well over half an hour, and we could talk forever because you're easy to talk to. Is there any question that I haven't asked that you anticipated that you thought I was going to ask, and what would be the answer to that question?
Well, so I thought that you might ask about some of our districts. So, of course, we've got the entertainment district. I think we talked a little bit about that.
Sure.
But we reimagined our land use plan, and we reimagined that with hundreds of people attending it. And in the process of doing that, we created districts. So we had the Western Promise. We had the Innovation Hub, of which you sit right in that.
Sure.
We had the Entertainment District. And then there were areas that we had for neighborhood. So we had the downtown district come up. And so in looking at those areas of town, that's what we're looking at planning things in. So entertainment will be entertainment. The Innovation Hub will be Admiral Legacy, will be the expansion of Sellers. We'll be doing a lot of those as well. So we have a lot of good things. We're a growing city and we're vibrant. And I think we have set ourselves up for success, and the dominoes will fall in that direction. I believe that.
Can I ask you a fun question?
Yes.
Every school in Mansfield has a mascot, whether it's the Eagles or the Tigers or the Broncos or so. It was just, if the city council were to have a mascot, what would it be?
Oh. It would be a bird, I think. Yes, it would be a bird. I would think either an eagle or an owl, because each of them represents strength. And I think our council represents strength, and we've been a good team.
But owls only come out at night.
Oh, no, they don't.
No.
Oh, no, they come out. And I think with an owl is they are out and they are looking and, they're wise.
Right.
And so I would think that we would be something, I would think closer to an owl than probably an eagle because we've taken the steps to try to educate ourselves and really think about things so that we can be wise when we make our decisions. And we may make mistakes, but that's all part of being wise.
You're running against one opponent. That opponent has not only declined an interview on About Mansfield, but has also come out and is not going to be doing any public forums. Any thoughts on that strategy?
I'm going to every one of them. I'll be at every one. I was at a business one because at the end of the day, I'll be bringing my pad and I'll be writing on it. I took notes the last time around because I want to hear what the people have to say. And that will be to her loss and detrimental to her. But when you're used to not really being part of a community and not really being out there to see what's really going on, perhaps you don't really think you are missing anything.
If anyone wanted more information about Tamera Bounds, do you have a website? Do you have a Facebook? Do you have an Instagram? Do you have a TikTok? What's going on with you?
Well, no, I've been told I need to do Instagram and maybe. But I do have Tamera Bounds Facebook, and then I do have a www.reelecttamerabounds.com. So, and if you get on that, I have resources on there. So it will give you every resource that you need to look at, even frequently asked questions on some of the things that have been said in public and any questions that you may have, and links to other areas that you can go and find the information yourself. Because at the end of the day, you should do your own research and not take what other people tell you as gospel, because it's not always that way.
reelecttamerabounds.com.
You got it.
Or look her up on Facebook and someday Instagram.
Maybe someday Instagram, Facebook, and my website's quite a bit. Remember, I've got 11 grandkids and kids and day job, and city council's a lot in itself. But just remember, I am Tamera Bounds, and I do want your vote on May the 3rd to reelect me to Mansfield City Council Place 2.
Tamera, good luck on May 3rd.
Thank you.